Here we're laying some compost blanket down. This compost blanket is like 95, 97% effective in reducing erosion. We've got our bare soil here. We need to do surface stabilization treatments for raindrop impact, and we either use straw mulch, or we use erosion control blankets, or we use compost. Compost seems to make the most sense up here. We have a seed mix already in the compost, so by next spring, the grasses will be growing up between the compost. The compost will still continue to provide raindrop impact, erosion protection. Just a win-win situation. We're done. I mean, virtually this site is done. So I know all you viewers out there have just been dying to see how the Pembina River looks up here on the Hinton project. So here we are up in the Pembina after 1 year, and boy, it's looking good right now. Compost turned out really nice. Built a nice soil. That reclamation blend has done nice. So here's the compost blanket after a year. It's been through a big winter freeze, spring rains, and it's done really well. This grass blend has done well. Again, they're well rooted in there. These grasses, I can't even begin to pull them out, so there's no way that this thing would erode anymore. It gave us, the compost blanket gave us, 99% coverage for erosion control, and it also provided a nice substrate for grasses to grow. I mean, look at this compared to other areas, adjacent areas. So again, compost is just really a nice erosion control practice, especially when you have one of those blower machines. Now the compost sock here really did its job too. This thing, it took quite a beating. You can see here where a semi with dualies drove over it, but it didn't break. It's really entrenched into the soil. There's just no way I can move this. So these roots have gone down in through here and locked into the soil. It's still viable after a year. This stuff is still relatively strong. The reason we put the compost berm and the compost socks here is because we needed most of the erosion and sediments coming off the road and flowing this way. So what we wanted to do is make sure there was some kind of sediment control between the river and the source of sediment. So normally this is when we'd use a sediment control BMP. Silt fence would be put in typically on a construction site, but the silt fences, they get driven over, they get knocked down, they're not maintained, and they're very difficult to install properly. So we wanted to look at an alternative to silt fence here. And we see this has kind of been a permanent BMP. This berm is here, it's protecting the river from any sediment coming off of the road. And then we also have a nice compost and vegetated buffer for secondary and tertiary treatment. I doubt very much if any sediment came off of the road and got into the river here. And the other BMP we use that's really neat is the compost berm. Remember, we put this compost berm down without the sock. This went down with just that plate that was pulled along and laid this compost berm. So this compost berm does the same job as the sock. There was some concern that it might not be sturdy enough to last. Well, it's lasted just fine. Again, the vegetation has grown within it here, and you can see the deep mat of roots that has now locked in this compost berm. So here you have vegetation well established. Every one of those roots were holding that berm together and providing revegetation. You would have had to come back 3 or 4 times during a winter to maintain a silt fence in this condition so that it would have operated. You can see sediment has built up here from the storm events. The sediment has built up and not gone into the river. All in all, I give us a really good scorecard here.